Hi there, welcome, my friends, to Torment Tides of Numenera again, and we'll speak to Dracogen and confront him, as we thought, or as Tibia thought, he was led into a trap by him, and that the former lover of Tibia that we've been seeking is dead in the bloom somewhere. Tibia, Dracogen's voice is jolly and his eyes gleam. You look as if you have something to say to me.
I'll remember that.
I want to talk about what you did to Orvinje, the worthless piece of... What I did, Tibia, really, Dracogen looks to you. Did Tibia not tell you how he and I became to be acquainted? Then let me. He crosses his arms. Tibia was a mercenary, for sale to the highest bidder. He came to the bloom to serve as a lackey to whomever could pay him the most in coin, drink, or flesh. An employer approached him about retrieving an artifact from a guarded vault. He took the job. Let him continue. Your gallant friend helped pacify the guards, and he watched as his compatriots slaughtered the helpless men. It was then they revealed the vault was mine. Wisely, Tibia quit the job and threw himself on my mercy, naming all his conspirators. I took justice on them and gave their children a lifetime of nightmares. But from Tibia I asked only a year of his service, or his mind lingering, and a favor to be named. He gave me the ring and fled. I did not pursue him. I am a man of my word. When his lover came, seeking answers about the ring, he found me instead. Orvinje agreed to serve in my employ for a year. In exchange for the truth of Tibia's whereabouts, I made him my toy. He did work that Tibia would shrink at in some of the darkest, most dangerous depths of the bloom. And in all this time, Tibia never returned. Tibia knew what he sacrificed when he gave me the ring. He knew that Orvinje would come, but he gave up the ring without a second thought. At any time he might have come to me to request its return. He never did. In so doing, he knowingly condemned his lover to his fate in the bloom. Tibia swallows hard, shaking his head, not in negation but in shock. He does not interrupt. Ken thoughts, I didn't know he would come. I didn't, not for certain. As for you, Tibia, the favor to be named later is this. I want you to recall the many ways you could have saved Orvinje, to think of how he might have died, to reflect on the depths of his devotion to you, and shallowness of yours to him. This is the kind of man you travel with, cast-off. Know his true character. Best of luck to both of you. He waves his hand, is missing you. Scanthal's an easy favor, perhaps, but the boy Orvinje more than compensated. Now go.
Ruined him. I'm the one killed Alvi, not that fool at the shrine.
Tears streak down Tibia's cheeks, unheeded. Here's the truth about what separated us. I was afraid to lose him, so I broke his heart. I cheated on him and used my ring to make sure he knew, and it didn't work. He still loved me, and he didn't understand why I was pushing him away. So I waited until he was away on a supply run and turned our mercenaries on the village, Ovi had sworn to protect. He chuckles through his tears. That did it. One look at the soldiers shoving children into the street, and Ovi bashed me in the jaw and said we were done. He covers his face with his hands. He shouldn't have hit you. You were afraid to lose him, so you pushed him away. I loved him, he says, gripping his head with bloodless fingers, more than I loved myself, and I'd felt him die dozens of times in the endless battle. I wanted him out of my head, understand? I wanted him gone, so then when death took him for the last time, I wouldn't feel it. His sigh is a soft, ragged thing. Still, I wish I'd run after him like I wanted, but I was scared, and I ran to the bloom instead. And then I gave up the ring to save myself from Dracogen's revenge. He continues, his hands shaking. Of course I did, and I convinced myself Ovi wouldn't suffer because of it. But he did, he says, clawing the tears from his eyes. I knew he was here, and I was afraid to face him. And look what my beautiful, honest lad came to in my absence. Trying to save me, I made him like me. And thought, I'm sick of the lies, it's my fault. That's the plain truth. Yeah, let's face the truth, right? Let's not give him excuses. put him in a very difficult situation, and that broke that guy. You're right, he died when you could have maybe saved him. What now? I don't know, he says quietly. There's no saving him now, and I either live with that or I don't. Tiberius straightens, adjusting his clothing, and gives you a weary smile. Sometimes you feel like a day should end. You've borne too much, but it doesn't. And you have to keep going, don't you? Tiberius takes a deep breath. Give me some time to myself, will you? I've had enough of talk for now, being honest. Yeah, we'll give you. We'll give you. We still need to talk to Dracogen. My friend, how can I be of assistance to you today? I've heard that you have sought the cortex from the anchorage before. The agents I employed previously were not up to the task. This was an occasion of great surprise to me. They were tough, capable explorers, and I thought them more than sufficient to the job. If you gain access to the anchorage and the cortex, I suggest that you employ guile before violence. I would hate to see you fail as I did. Got some more questions. Ask your questions, friend. I'll answer that what I may. You mentioned knowing about Mia West before. What else do you know about cast-offs and the changing god? You asked to plunder a great deal of knowledge, but I suppose you'll discover these things sooner rather than later, and it would behoove me to have you think well of me. Again that shark-like smile, but we should make your questions come one at a time. Okay, what do you know about Mia West? Alas, I have only heard stories. I know that it was a place of refuge, a sanctuary. I once sought it out. Its name means Stone of Wonders in an ancient, largely forgotten tongue, and I thought perhaps to acquire the stone. He smiles ruefully. I did not find it naturally, but the search allowed me to make the acquaintance of a number of your brethren. This proved fruitful on several occasions. Kind thoughts are to plunder the treasures of that place. Sadly, it will probably never be. What can you tell me about the other cast-offs? I have had the pleasure of knowing quite a few. Some were excellent business partners and sources of information, but Kina especially, for she knew the Bloom and the city above. Inivir hid from his acolytes in the Bloom, but found no peace here. I have met with the Chalcodon and Peri Reckon, as they sought advantage for their armies. Your kind are drawn here frequently, though they rarely stay long. Ganthol's Mazov was an intriguing one. He did so much more than merely find treasures. A shame what became of him. What can you tell me about the changing god? Dracogen's mood darkens. Your sire's brilliant, but he is dishonest and untrustworthy. I dealt with him while he was in the body of one of your ill-fated brethren. He carried the amulet then, and he vowed that I should have it for my troubles when he had no further need for it. Instead, he locked it away in the Ascension beyond my reach, and then he vanished. I would have taken my vengeance, but I discovered that the body that returned to me was not the mind that had left. It was through this interaction that I came to know more about your kind, but the fact remains that the changing god is a scoundrel and a cheat, a man who breaks his word as easily as breathing. Okay, can you tell us something more? Inquisitive minds are the sharpest minds, Canthos, though perhaps the most dull to speak with. Here. How do I get to the heart of the Bloom? Stares at you for a moment and licks his lips. At last he replies, I must admit I do not know. This is knowledge I have sought and failed to acquire. I can only suggest that you ask someone closer to the Bloom than I am, someone who is not the Memovera. Who was that automaton you were speaking to? That, my friend, was one of the Decanted. They are servants of the nobles of the City of Glass, a nearly extinct people who value beauty and form. Had I known your interest, I might have suggested it speak to you. However, as I understand it, your body is artificially grown. They prefer their guests organic. He slashes his hand through the air, signifying the end of the discussion. Let us speak of something else. All right. About yourself. He spreads his hands apologetically. I have a great deal to say about that subject. Most of it is interesting only to me. What is it that you wish to know? What do you do exactly? I am an investor. What is my business? I see you ask with your eyes, and so I answer for you. I deal in strange and exotic Numenera. The bloom is a crossroads, a fruitful place, and I see much of interest. My particular clientele demands items of an interesting nature, and they pay me well for it. Well enough that I can afford to pay my finders generously and remain solvent. Okay, what are you doing here? Or how long have you been here, rather? Quite some time, as ordinary humans measure it. I have made the bloom my base of operations for a good 100 years. I have learned to avoid the political squabbles of its residents, for the political turns personal all too quickly, personal and bloody. Smiles slightly. The ghosts of the past are always with us, in the bloom more so. He looks away for a moment. Time changes us all. Justice comes on its own feet. It is best to let events take their own course and to steer clear of entanglements one cannot control. So you haven't been in the bloom your whole life? Looks faintly offended. By no means. I've travelled from the Clock of Kala to the Steadfast, and see the towering crystal skyfields. I have journeyed to the forge of the night sky, dodging fire-whites and spills of magma. I stood upon metal moons to look down upon the earth and saw signs of life in the stars nearby. I've traversed time and space, spending light around the nebula bell, and seen myself transmuted briefly into pure thought. The bloom is but a small stop. Speak of something else. And what are you doing here then? Why not go for this life of adventure? I'm looking for useful and interesting Numenera, my friend. The bloom is a crossroads of worlds, a place of power and pain, and a great many people from a great many places pass through here every day. I found explorers, merchants, and other travelers who wish to bring much back more for the collection. And I pay well. And who are your clients? He groans. Do you want to die, friend? You don't ask Dracogen prying questions. Dracogen shakes his head, the smile gone from his face. They are private individuals with no desire for their identities to be made public. They are collectors. That is all I will tell you. That is all I dare tell you. Okay. Do you know something about the people of the bloom? I do not frequently indulge in gossip, but I see no harm in answering your questions. Numenera, my old compatriot. I've told you what I wish to tell you. She is a hard woman in a hard position. She rose to her rank in the time-honored tradition of the bloom with a bloody knife in hand. She rules in much the same way. Having seen some of the more legitimate governments of the world, her way simply seems more honest. And thoughts, unfortunately, the traditions of the bloom are not finished with her yet. And the other people in this chamber. There's Skydi, a small-time merchant, the construct they call Waits for Prey, who does exactly that. He gestures toward the great fortress doors. Bruska, the Memovera's hand and a friend of mine, Parsim Flint, the slaver, and Kian, a sad victim of chance. Something else still? Something completely different? Okay, nothing more. Oh, that's a lot. But Tiberius' friend is dead. What's in here? Oh, we'll leave the compartment alone.
Without doubt.
Yeah, we don't want to take that. There's still a question. How we could maybe get rid of ourselves, right? I don't know. Let's talk to Kian. Maybe she knows something. Or the Philotis. I said, can I help you? Stand silent. Tell me more about the bloom. No, okay, okay.
I'm ready.
Wait. Here's Kian. Kian's eyes brighten when she sees you coming. You're back. Can I do anything for you? Yeah, I'd like to sleep here. Of course, she waves toward an empty tent. I'll bring you some food shortly, and I'll tell you some stories if you like. Enjoy your night.
Thank you. We approve.
And we are healed. Thankfully. What about Calistique? We should talk to her too. About that operation. Talk about you. Oh, you know, this and that, lady raised in high society, becomes renowned intellectual, goes on to humanitarian, etc., etc. She glances at you as if gauging your interest. Of course, I'm exceptional, but my story is less so. It would bore you to tears, no doubt. Who are all these echoes of you? They are me. We are a part of each other, sisters across infinite realities. We share our experiences and power. What's that old saying? That experience brings wisdom? I must be the wisest person in Sega's Cliffs, the wisest across countless worlds. Her laughter peals out. Where did you grow up? In Sega's Cliffs, for the most part. I worked my way through the content of the Grand Library in short order and was soon writing texts for it myself. Of course, there are far greater works to pursue out there. She looks around, please. Sega's truly is a prison for the mind. I'm lucky to have escaped it. She inclines her head towards you in thanks. I thought the library holds no answers to the questions I asked of it. How did you meet Aligon? Oh, we got to get back to Aligon too, because, yeah, it was that guy who wanted to meet him. I suppose there's no harm in indulging you, she muses. You've shown yourself competent in many endeavors, and this should be no different. Arranges one sleeve diffidently. Aligon and I met when he came to the Order of Truth, seeking help. Naturally, I was intrigued by his predicament. More so than the man. He smiles but absently. He had lost his family, you see, and sought their return. He had brought with him an odd frame of unknown origin that was central to his tale. The stuffed shirts at the Order were more interested in picking apart Aligon's story than they were in examining the frame he had brought with him. The task fell to me, so I undertook it, and for that Aligon became enchanted with me. Eventually we became lovers. He was pleasant enough in my bed, I suppose, though he lacked any real enthusiasm, and the crying. He rolled her eyes, arm thrown dramatically across her forehead, his pitiful childlike snuffling, when he thought I was asleep. She shakes her head in disbelief. His family was gone. There was no more he could tell me, and I had learned nothing worth telling him. You saw the end. I've moved on. Why were you together if the relationship was so poor? Guilt, she says. For him, at least, he desperately wanted to save someone. For me, it was a matter of necessity. She sighs and shakes her head. It was my own research that led me to this state, but despite access to 1,000 worlds, I was no closer to achieving my goal, and my sisters were ever closer to plotting my annihilation. He laughs. You see, in an effort to extend my own life, I chanced upon versions of myself that would end it. It's true, some of my echoes seek to become the sole survivors, or to rule over the rest. And so I sought a way to return to my base state, if you will, a way to control my future. I had found some notes of your sire's notes that hinted at a machine capable of merging multiple selves, of concatenating various minds into a single identity. Naturally, it seemed a welcome solution to my predicament, but his clues as to its location were useless to the utmost degree. He frowns. Aligon had met the man once. It was more than I had to go on, and I was feeling less than patient. He waves a hand wearily. From there, you know the rest. All right. So the other selves wanted to kill you, or want to kill you? Why? She's silent for several long moments. I don't know, she admits. I've tried to reason with them, but they are beyond it, or at least immune to it. They blame me for opening all our minds to each other, but it had not been me. Had it not been me, another version of me would have. He laughs. In fact, it was a host of me that did. I'm not alone in this. Across countless realities we came together simultaneously. She closes her eyes briefly. I wonder sometimes she looks to you, as if searching for an answer. Would it have been better to be one of the other Calistiques, to have no choice in the matter but to be connected without my prior knowledge or consent? Have my memories, my secrets, bared in 1,000 other realities, knowing they could never be used against me, but aware all the same that they were known? It passes a weary hand in front of her eyes, so I understand those of myself who reject this change. I do. I no more chose to share myself with them than they chose to share with me. But that does not mean I long for their destruction, or truly think it would have any great impact on my life here. And that is where we differ. The one point on which perhaps we shall always disagree. Fortunately, a great many others see the matter from my perspective. And what is it you hope to accomplish by traveling with me? So direct, I shan't be coy either then. Your sire, the changing god, was a Nano of surpassing ability. Your search for answers is likely to cross his trail at multiple points. He must have researched the datasphere at some point, and I hope to study his work to address my own particular situation. She waves her hands across her body. I am what you might imprecisely call a nascent, cross-dimensional hive mind. What I must decide now is whether to continue this experiment. My sisters, you see, they are a blessing and a curse. One moment. He addresses them. Hush, you know it's true. I've thought it. So therefore you've thought it. We have no secrets from one another. She smiles thinly. You see, even in my thoughts we are not alone. We seek, let us call it, closure of some sort. Of our association, or of our individuality. Uncovering your sire's knowledge, the datasphere, could likely determine my direction. We cannot find a suitable home in the datasphere. We may have to terminate this process, but that presents pitfalls of its own. The datasphere. What about the datasphere? Your creator was a genius. Many throw the word out lightly. I use it in its truest sense. He knew how to access the datasphere, and he set that knowledge aside. I will follow in his footsteps, and then I will surpass him. I will find a way to make a connection. My sisters and I will truly understand. Chuckled lightly. Or we'll be back from the precipice. We are still undecided. Oh, all right. That's all I wanted. Let's continue on. Of course. And thank you for watching, and happy gaming to you. We'll see each other in the next episode. Have a great time until then, and happy gaming. This is Immanuel signing out. See you soon, my friends.